Hey, what's going on? It's Tripp from trippadvice.com, and I got a special interview today. I'm with Blake Jamieson, from Tinder Hacks, and
Yes.
we're going to be talking all about some really cool Tinder stuff. I don't want to give it away. I just want to tell you that this guy, he knows his stuff, and he's got a really cool story of how he knows all this stuff and how he got into it. He's not just some random person who decided one day, I'll write a book on Tinder. He knows his shit. So, Blake, what's up, man? Happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, Tripp. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So tell us how you got into this. Tell me the whole story. I already know it because we talked before, but tell the guys how this all happened. It's like the most entertaining story ever.
Sure. I'll try to do the best quick version. So basically, I moved from Los Angeles to Phoenix, Arizona for a content marketing job, and I've worked in content marketing for a while. And I had used Tinder just really little bit in LA, not too much. And I moved to this new city, and I didn't know anybody except for the people that I work with. And so naturally, as a single guy at the time, I wanted to meet girls, but I also just wanted to meet people in general. So I decided that I wanted to take a kind of a fresh approach to Tinder, and I modified my profile picture to make it look as if Tinder was endorsing me as the match of the day. And then I would just swipe as many people as I could, and this was before Tinder Plus, where you could do unlimited swipes until your thumbs fell off. And that's basically what I did. And then I published this article on Medium, which was called Hacking Tinder, and it basically what happened is a lot of people knew that I wasn't actually endorsed by Tinder, but they thought it was original and creative enough that they still it would start a conversation. They'd be like, "Oh, that's pretty clever."
Well, what showed them that? What showed them that you were endorsed by Tinder?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. So like on Tinder, you have like your picture when people are swiping. So what I did was I took my normal picture, and then at the very top of it, I overlaid kind of like a text bar, and I made it the same color as like the native app, and I used the Tinder logo, and I said "Hot Match of the Day" in a font that looked similar to Tinder's logo font. So I made it look very like official, as if this picture was surrounded by a frame that says "Hot Match of the Day," and so then I started swiping on all these people. And what happens with Tinder is when you swipe right on a ton of people, the next time they open the app, then you're going to be kind of stacked near the top of the deck, because they've got this psychological thing where they want people to log on, swipe, and then as soon as they swipe, they get a match. So they're going to stack you with people who have already liked you. So I ended up at the top of the deck of all these people, and they open up the app, and then it says "Hot Match of the Day. This is Blake." And I just thought it was like a fun thing. It wasn't like I wasn't trying to write a book on Tinder or anything. It was just an experiment. And then I published all these results. And one of the interesting things that I found is that only 8% of women will actually message a guy first. And that was, I think I got up to like 4,000 or 4,500 matches.
Oh
8%, 8% of them would actually take the initiative and message me.
And how long did you get that? How many days did it take you to get
Less
that?
than a month, like maybe 3 weeks.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it was 800 in a week. And then I published my article, and I published my article with 800 matches, and then that kind of it took its own like a life of its own, and got a lot of press from like Adweek and Business Insider and all these sites that were more focused on like the kind of marketing creativity that I used. And so then it was like it just kind of snowballed, and I would get people all the time that would like match with me and then be like, "Oh my God, you're the Tinder guy. Like, I'm so like, this is so cool that I matched with you because I read about your stuff."
You
So it
became
kind of
a
like,
celebrity.
yeah. So it kind of amplified. So what I did there was like the first experiment, I was really just trying to optimize to get as many matches as I could, because I was in a new place. I wanted to meet new people. I like to think that I'm a creative marketer, so I wanted to show that. And I realized that I was optimizing just for match rate, nothing else. And so I continued to kind of tweak the article, and I kept getting all this attention on it. And I said, well, okay, I need to do something with this, because all these people are asking for like, well, what about messaging? What about actually setting up dates? Like, did this work for you? And I wasn't thinking like that far down the funnel at first. And so then I took those 4,000 matches, and I started experimenting with different intro lines and different ways to like communicate with people on Tinder.
Yeah.
And then actually try and move it down the funnel of, okay, can I get a phone number? Okay, can I get an in-person date? Okay, can I get a really high caliber in-person date with people that I'm interested in. So it started as like this funny thing in a new city, and then it evolved into now Tinder Hacks, which is an ebook that talks about the whole process. And I think that something that's I think misunderstood is that like people all try and copy it like word for word for word. Like they try and use the same template, they try and use exactly the same messages, they try and do this. But and something why I'm really excited to be on Tripp Advice is because I know you always talk about like it's not like the PUA stuff, like it's not canned lines. Like yes, I use that stuff and I give that data, but it's more like I'm trying to teach more like the theory of like this is how to like stand out, because the reality is like there's so many dudes argue or kind of competing for a girl's attention on Tinder. You have to do something original to make a good impression.
Right. So
and you don't have very long to do that.
Let's talk about that then. Let's give a tip right now about one amazing way a guy can stand out in terms of having whatever it is, a Tinder profile or something that they say, or even standing out on the date once they get the date. Like, what is one of the best ways you found to be the guy to stand out?
Okay, so I kind of break this up into two things. There's one thing you can do for just matches, like what I first optimized for, and that is your first profile picture absolutely like has to make them want to know more about you. And so there's so many times where people do, because in part of the book I ask guys for feedback, say, what's your biggest struggle? And they say, oh, well, I can't get matches. I say, okay, send me your pictures. Let's see what are we working with? And it's so tough for guys, I think, to choose their own best picture. For myself, for every guy, I think that everybody's their own biggest critic. And so if you can get, whether it is like a friend who is a girl or hopefully a couple of them to help you choose, I just think that like when you're trying to choose your own picture, it's like you're too close to really be able to be objective.
Yeah.
So people jump on Tinder and then they're like, I don't get any matches. It's almost always because they just have the wrong picture chosen. And it's really easy just to switch and do your own testing, which I highly encourage, but also just getting like some input on the picture. And then the next thing that I think is like probably much more pro tip or cooler thing, because that's kind of like obvious, like, okay, cool, get a good picture, is the Tinder Moments feature. So Tinder Moments is kind of like almost like Snapchat, where you take a picture and you upload it as your own moment, and it lasts for 24 hours, and any of your matches can see it. And this might not seem like a big deal. It's just like, okay, well, cool. You could either take a picture, upload a picture. What's the big deal? And then you could also look at moments of your matches. What's really interesting is that when somebody clicks either like or doesn't like on your photo, it won't make you match or unmatch or anything. You're already matched with this person. What it will do is it'll create a line item in your chat log, like message history. So when you first match with somebody on Tinder, it'll say Blake matched with Brittany on whatever, April 5th. And then it'll get this date. And I think a lot of guys are either afraid to make the move or neglecting Tinder and don't go on. And you end up with these matches that are like a week old, 2 weeks, 3 weeks old. And then it's like awkward. Like, well, what do I say now? Like, we matched so long ago. Like, now it's like an uphill battle. We already know with 8%, like, the reality is they're not going to message you. It's up to you. So if you can post moments, then all of a sudden, if Brittany and I matched a month ago, I post a moment and she likes it, then that match date is going to be replaced with, whatever today's date is, May 8th or whatever the date is, Brittany liked Blake's moment.
Ah, okay.
And it totally erases the date that you matched. And so this is like such a cool way to like kind of rekindle old matches. And then another thing that I talk heavily about in the book is that when you're going through matches, it's really not obvious like whose match it is. You're really like the picture's big and center, and then you have this tiny little profile image, that would say Tripp or say Blake or something like that. People don't look at that a lot. They look at the picture. So what I like to do is I post like 5 different moments at one time. And this might just be pictures I find in the internet that are funny that I upload, or things I take. And I'll just post a bunch of moments.
I like that.
And what happens is the girls will go through and they'll click like, just scanning, thinking that they're all different guys posting different things. What happens is then I go to the conversation log we'll keep it consistent for Brittany, and it won't just say, Brittany liked Blake's moment instead of the date we matched. It'll say Brittany like Blake's moment, Brittany like Blake's moment, Brittany like Blake's moment, Brittany like Blake's moment, and it's like tons of little notifications, and that's like the absolute best icebreaker intro line is just having them like a bunch of your stuff, and then you could say almost anything. You could say like, "Oh man, like that escalated quickly," and quote Anchorman, or you could just say
That's
like, "Oh,
good.
calm down, like this is Tinder, like let's not get too serious yet," or whatever. Just make a joke out of it, and
Like,
they
oh,
will
it looks like I got a new stalker here, don't I?
exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's just insane that like girls don't, and then they'll kind of be like embarrassed, and they'll feel the need to kind of to tell you, to make an excuse, to be like, I didn't know that it was all yours, or I had no idea that those, it tells you or it records it like this. Like it's such a cool icebreaker that it doesn't take a lot of courage to do that, right? You just upload a couple photos and then just see who likes a lot of them. Like there's so much like I think with like the pickup game or whatever, that's like get your confidence up, or build it all up and learn how to do this. It's like, this is so simple. Like click upload 5 times with photos and then see who responds, and then it's like say anything you want and they will respond to you.
Awesome. I love it. That's really good stuff. So what's another really cool tip that guys can use to, I don't know, just be really good at Tinder, impress the girl that they match with or match better? So we talked about having solid pictures, asking some girls their opinions on it. We talked about a couple of opening lines. That's fun with this new, I guess Tinder is almost like social media now, it sounds like.
Right.
I personally have not been on Tinder.
It's a good thing.
I mean, I was on Tinder like a few years ago to just check it out, and I mean, a few years ago was like ancient, when it first came out. And now it's like a whole new thing. So, so what else can a guy do to stand out or impress or just hack away at it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm all about, and this is just beyond Tinder, like life thing. Like I'm only going to worry about things that I can control. I'm not going to worry about, if I do my best, whatever somebody else does, doesn't matter. So within Tinder, I mean, there's a very minute specific set of things you can control, like your photos, like uploading your moments. The other one is your bio. And I think that it's not going to be a make or break, like get you matches, because people are mainly going to match off your first picture. Is there attraction? Is there not? Yes, no. If there is, then they might dive a little bit deeper to see, okay, do I want to have a conversation with Tripp or with Blake or whoever? They will read your bio. So again, I get all this feedback, and I look at guys' bios, and they tend to write them like a resume. They say, oh, well, I work in finance. I love my job. I'm passionate about adventure. Looking for a partner in crime. Like, there's all these really cliche things that is basically like the really abbreviated resume. And I think that that's like a terrible idea. I think that the idea of a bio is to give them something to talk about. And so something that I like to do with the bios is I like to keep it lighthearted. I mean, it's not Match.com. It's not you can find. I believe that you can find love on Tinder. I don't think that it was designed for that. So you don't have to treat it like, listing a million qualities you want. That's what girls do all the time, or guys like putting their salaries and their height. Like
they put their salaries on there.
Some people do. Yes.
Wow.
So
$25,000 a year.
Exactly. So I think that it's important just to keep it really lighthearted, like 1 or 2 little sentences, and then have a clear call to action that is like either like a yes or no or an A or B type of question.
Okay.
For example, you could say, would you rather eat pizza for every meal of the rest of your life or never eat pizza again? That kind of thing is fun because it's not like super serious, obviously. It's just kind of throwing it out there. But you would be surprised like how many girls will read that and then they'll just message and be like, pizza for the rest of my life, like all caps. And then
Nice.
It's like, it's just such a cool icebreaker.
Yeah.
Versus like, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, and I want this. It's like, that's just so boring. It doesn't start conversations.
Yeah, it's interactive. It's getting the girl involved a little bit. It's getting them excited to want to respond to you or say something, because, I mean, as much as we want to learn about other people, we're also kind of a self-obsessed culture, you know what I mean? So it's like, It's good to throw a question out there like that so we can be like, oh, I want to tell him what I think about me and how much pizza I would eat or whatever the question is. So
exactly.
definitely I can see how that could like suck you in a little bit.
Yeah. And like another example that I did with when I was kind of continuing my experiment is it wasn't quite a call to action, but it was something that had gave me an excuse to message them. So I put in there ranked fourth in the world for snuggling. And then what I would do is I would
That's
message
good.
girls and I would say, with your help, I think I can break into the top three. And that's all I would say. And sometimes they would reply back and they'd be like, what are you talking about? And I wouldn't say anything. And eventually they would look at my profile and they'd read that and they'd be like, oh, that's pretty cute. That's, so as far as like canned lines, that's one that I did have success with. But I just think that so many people just tried to copy that, and I try and tell them like it's not about like these words or that words. It's about like the whole approach of just use it for its purpose. Start a conversation with your
So,
bio.
okay. So with that, I mean, the guys, yeah, you don't want the guys to use the canned lines. So I think the idea is trying to help the guys understand almost the theory behind it. Like, all right, you don't need to use this line, but what's the theory behind why that line works so they can understand what works when it comes to what you say to a girl that's going to make her attracted to you, right?
Hmm.
So let's break down that for a second. Why do you think that works so well that you can say like, oh, I hope to become, with your help, I hope to become third. And it's a silly little line, but it's actually, there's a reason why it works, and there's very
Hmm.
important reasons
Hmm.
why something like that works. I would like to know your thoughts on that. What do you think?
Yeah. So I mean, the reality is on Tinder, girls get so many messages. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. I've made a fake like girl profile just to like kind of see the other side of it, and it's absolutely crazy how much it's any match they want. Pretty much they'll be matched with any mess. So many guys will message them, and it's like insane to me. And this is gonna go back like cliche to like the picture stuff, but like how many dudes just say like hey or hello or hi? It doesn't stand out. And so I think that just be having a memorable first impression, which I know you've talked about before in your other podcasts, is like that is more important than the exact text that you send. It's about creating an impression that they remember and they want to talk to you or they want to go on a date with you. And so, for me, leveraging the cuddling or snuggling thing, like that was cool, but that's irrelevant. The important thing is that it's different from what they're used to. And when everybody starts using that line, all of a sudden that's what they're used to, and they're just conditioned to ignore it, and they will ignore it. And so I just think it's about like standing out and playing to your strengths. And so if you're like a sarcastic, funny guy, like I guess I am sometimes, like that's how I'm gonna play Tinder. How I'll play Tinder. If you're a different type of person, don't try and be funny. If you're not, be true to yourself and be a little bit unique. I think that's always going to get the best results.
Yeah, I think it's just being different. I think it's just doing something that is unique to you and part of your personality and show that off. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's like and find a way to show that off instead of doing the safe route of, being just kind of a little bit more generic and general
Hmm.
because, you're just going to be like every other guy out there doing the same
Hmm.
exact thing, and women want a guy who's different. They want,
Hmm.
it's like they want to tell themselves that they're with a guy who's different. They want to tell their friends they're with a guy who's amazing and different, right? They're rooting for you to be that. So it's like
Right.
you got to show that and show that through everything that we're talking about here, your bio, your pictures, the first words out of your mouth. I'm sure even continuing things. What do you think
Hmm.
about that? I mean, what do you think is the best way? Let me ask you this: to get a girl to go out with you. Like, when do you ask her out, or maybe do you get her on the phone first? Like, what's your Tinder hack method to getting her to meet up with you or show up on a date?
Sure. Okay, so there's two different tactics that I use that are kind of very different. Um, I think that there's so much pressure put on guys to be the one to like initiate and ask them out, and that's fine. Um, but really, what I like to do is I'll let a conversation, build and get a little bit of back and forth. I don't want to do it too quickly, but Tinder is a very like fast-paced thing. So it is like within the first day of talking to them. I don't let it go overnight. That message will get buried. But I would just send them my phone number, and it's super cliche to say like, oh, I don't use Tinder very much. Oh, text is going to be easier. I just send them my phone number and say, if you'd like to take this conversation off Tinder, here's my number. If not, no hard feelings. Super apathetic,
Wow.
really
It's a good
non-threatening.
line.
And and it's just, and the whole like if you don't want to, no hard feelings, like I mean that. I don't actually care if they don't text me, it's okay.
Right.
Because you see, like, I don't know if you've heard of the Instagram account By Philippe, which is where guys will
Yeah.
flatter a girl and then she doesn't respond or isn't as receptive as he wants, and then he just goes off and just calls her all these names.
Yeah.
That's a horrible, horrible thing to do. What is the best case scenario? The best case scenario, if you do that, is you do not end up on By Philippe. But the worst case likely scenario is that you will. Like, you're not gonna convince a girl to date you by saying, "Oh, you're a stuck-up bitch," or whatever. Like, whatever. It's never gonna work. So I will just have a little bit of a conversation. I don't feel like, I'm not saying, "Will you go out with me?" I'm not saying, let's do XYZ. It's a really low commitment thing. Just send them the phone number. Send one more thing. If you want to take this off Tinder, be my guest. If not, no hard feelings.
What's your conversion rate on that, you think?
Over 50%.
Wow. That's
But
high.
keep in mind, that's like
And then you're
getting them. I'm building the rapport. I'm not just sending that to anybody. If I don't have a good conversation going with somebody, like I'm going to hedge my bets and only send it to the people that I think are receptive, and we are having a good conversation.
Okay, so that's 50. So 100% of the women that receive that line from you, that little text from you, are women that you've had good rapport with, and then 50% of those will respond. I mean, it's funny.
And usually it's immediately they will text and say, "This is Sarah, save my number," or whatever.
Wow, that's good.
And
Most women won't do that. That's why I think 50% is extremely high. You know what I
well,
mean?
yeah, I mean, I think that it's qualifying, really qualifying and making sure, because I feel like with knowing, seeing the conversation develop, I feel like it should be 100. I'm like, well, this should be a shoo-in. It's non-threatening. I'm giving them my number, but people are shy. They don't, and it's okay.
Right. Right, which makes it just one method to do it. I don't think that the guys have to use that method every single time. If you're really digging a girl and you're not really sure which way it's going to go, maybe you want to try something else and just ask for her number, or I don't know. What do you think is another way guys can do it?
So another way, I said that I have two methods. This other one I really like, and it's I'll be doing a little bit of the banter, and I think that it's important to ask them about themselves, right? You want them to be able to feel like they can open up and that you have a genuine interest in more than just their appearance, as surface level as Tinder is. I think that's important. So I will banter back and forth, ask them some questions, and not just like, what's your favorite color, but if you can ask them things like, what's the most exciting thing that happened to you today? I think that kind of gets they start to relive those exciting moments, or thinking like, oh, what is the most exciting thing? And then if they don't say anything, you can like lighten the mood by saying like, aside from this, obviously, or whatever. But you ask them questions, and it doesn't really matter what they answer. Hopefully those answers are congruent with the things you want. But you just send a message that says, okay, you've passed my test and I'm willing to date you. That line converts really well, and then I will send nothing, and I'll just say nothing, and usually they'll like say ha ha ha. I'll still send nothing, and then they'll send their phone number. And I don't think I wouldn't say that's probably not a 50% converting to phone number, but it's a fun line that like that's never the last thing that I say to them. I mean, I say like, I'll say it and I'll wait for them to kind of play off it and I'll let it sink in, but those conversations always keep going. It's not like a really abrasive thing, but it's still being clear with your intentions of like, okay, I'm willing to date you.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Like, let's do this. So
I like it. Oh,
I love that line.
Blake, you got so many cool things up your sleeve. Let's do this. Let's do one more cool little Tinder hack that you got for us, and then we'll wrap it up here. What's something that's really fun, unique, different, that just works like a charm in terms of getting success and results off of Tinder?
Okay, so I've got a friend of mine, actually, this girl that lives in Oklahoma sent me this earlier. It was a bio that somebody had written, but I think it could be used as a bio or an intro message or any kind of message. I think it's hilarious, and it is, well, my grandparents met on Tinder, so I figured I'd give it a shot. And that's obviously like, it's hilarious, because at some point we're going to get to the time where grandparents did meet on Tinder. We're not there yet. So I think that that could be a fun thing that I'm planning on experimenting with, even as soon as like this weekend. But the thing about my book is when I publish something or when I blog about something, and then everybody's doing it, it only works for a very short period of time. So I guess what I'll do is I will not use that until after, maybe a week or a month after this goes live, and give that to hit the listeners to play with, because I think that could be a really cool, funny opener.
So what's the theory and idea behind that, so guys can take away from that, not to necessarily use that line like we've been talking about, but to
Sure.
take that idea and use it for themselves?
So I think that if you can get a girl to laugh, and I said, like, don't try and be funny if you're not funny. That's fine. But I still think, like, if you can get them to laugh and smile while they're reading your bio or looking at your picture or whatever, I think in a way that you've already won, because it's like kind of a little yes chain, right? You get all these little yeses, and the first one is just if you could just get them to smile, and then just get them to respond, and then just get them to open up a little, and then just get them to go on it. Like, it's these little things, and that's like a perfect example of a really simple thing that you can say that will make them smile or laugh.
I love it. Awesome. This has been great, man. If you guys want to learn more Tinder hacks, really cool stuff, so you can master Tinder like Mr. Blake Jamieson over here, I want you to check out in the description below. It's going to be a link, and you'll learn more about Tinder hacks and how you can get a hold of that. And like I said, learn more about how to use Tinder as just one more amazing little piece in your arsenal to meet really hot girls, because like everyone's using Tinder. There's so many women on there. It's crazy, right? Even girls who are like aren't really into it or just on it anyways because they know it's like the thing to be on, like Facebook. It's like you're on it. Maybe you don't use it, but you're just on it. You know what I mean? Tinder is starting to become that, I believe. Every single girl I ever talked to, I mean, almost without fail, is on Tinder. Just in case. You know what I mean? Just as one more reason to, one more way, I should say, to meet guys. So you should be on there, and you should learn how to do it. And I'm also going to put more information of how to check out Blake. He's got a cool YouTube channel, and we'll put his Twitter on there. And yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for teaching us some really cool stuff today. Any last words, Blake?
No, man. I think that covers it. Thanks for having me, man. It was awesome.
Awesome,
Yeah.
cool. Maybe we'll get even deeper and do a podcast episode in the future and dive into some other stuff too. I know you're working on some other things. You even have what's that? You said you got a Tinder
Society.
Tinder Society. It's like a private Facebook group.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And how do you get access to that? Is that only through?
The TinderSociety.com. Also, with the Tinder hacks link that you'll post down below, there'll be kind of some info about it. But it's a private group where guys can come in, and we've got a dozen different what we call wing women that help give the feedback, like I talked about, of picking your picture or your interlines or writing your bio from a dozen women from all over the world. And it's cool because they sometimes don't all give the same advice, and that's how chicks are. Like, they're all different, and so you can kind of pick and be like, oh, well, I really like girls that are like this, and this is the feedback they give me. So
that's amazing.
That's like a brand new thing. It's cool. It's shaping up really well so far.
Okay, cool. Cutting edge program right there. I love it.
Exactly.
Cool, man. Awesome. Like I said, guys, check out in the description below. And Blake, it was good having you. And we'll sign off. Thanks,
Absolutely.
bud. Bye-bye.
See ya.